Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is the ML Scholar and today we'll be analyzing Crabbydroid in the new and upcoming Hydromarket marathon. Now if you have no idea what these two words mean, trust me I didn't as well in my previous video, but that's beside the point now. If you do not know what that is, basically the Hydromarket marathon will be beginning after the Wickah's Lair maze. If you do not know what marathon is, marathons are basically a extension of races which are much more harder than normal races and require a lot more gems, or at least that's what I've been told. So regarding the marathon, a lot of protests etc have been taking place all over the social media platforms like in Facebook and Discord and Twitter. Everywhere it is on fire. The Monster Legends developers finally listened and the community manager in the forums finally posted about it. So basically Fox, who's the community manager, has posted about it and said that this marathon will not be as hard as a Lord Bumpseed marathon, but it will still be hard considering this monster is a Forsaken monster, and Forsaken monster has the only exclusive monsters much like the elite monsters, so we'll have to work double our normal, if you can say, to get this monster. I don't know. So basically let's just jump right into it. So first of all, we have a new epic race has started. If you want a Forsaken monster as powerful as Crabbydroid, you and your team will have to work hard for it. Like I said, Forsaken monsters can only be ranked up and crafted by their own selves, so do not miss out this chance. So this is our chance to get a Forsaken monster ranked up to at least rank 3, rank 4, whatever our team decides. So that's a good thing as well. So let's read about the monster itself, which is Crabbydroid. Crabbydroid has a variety of control and torture status effects, including stuns, freeze and mega freezes, drown and nanovirus and shock and thunder weakness, etc. His attacks excel against water monsters and he can boost his allies by giving them water, hater and precision. Now I can right away see that this monster is very usable, especially in team wars, because if you face against water monsters, they are hard to take out with water monsters included, so you basically have an elemental advantage on those water monsters, and water hater typically increases your damage output by 3 times or 2 times, etc. I do not know, but it is still very useful. And yeah, Crabbydroid has an evolving trait as usual. Every monster that we have been receiving has evolving traits. He is tough at rank 0, gains immunity to freeze at rank 1, he has trait protection at rank 3, and he becomes a shock status caster at rank 5. This will be a unique opportunity to get Crabbydroid. You'll need him to access future events and offers available for only his owners. So now that's out of the way. He's a Forsaken monster. Now one thing I find really heartbreaking and kind of nostalgic is the top date was really reserved for the monsters in the war general category, because only the generals had the top trait and they had a 35% less accuracy. They had 35% less chance to get denied basically. So yeah, that's a little bit of nostalgia for me because I love the war generals, and a lot of newer monsters are having the tough trait like it's nothing, and it's getting harder to deny each and every turn. So yeah, now that's it, we are done with this. So we have some idea of what kind of monster Crabbydroid is. Let's just go over his skills. Now one thing to remember is that nothing is final and additions or subtractions can be made. And another thing I'd like to do is thank the people over at Discord who work day and night to provide this information to all of us so I can make a video for you all. So yeah, thank you. Now the skills are out, the stats are not out yet, as well as we do not know what kind of relics he has, what kind of books he'll be in. So all of that in his another analysis part 2 video, much like I'll be doing for Ursus, as the skills are out, etc, blah blah blah. So be sure to look out for that. Now if you do not know, I have already analyzed Ursus to the best of my ability in another video. If you want to see that, you can go check that out in the description as well. Now let's just go over and look at his skill. Now these skills, you have to remember, are not in order, so they are arranged but they're not in order, so there may be a little bit of discrepancy in the moves. So we'll be knowing about that in a firm way, much more formal way, when we receive the skills sheet, much like for all the monsters that are released. So the first move is Hermit Crab, deals low physical damage to one enemy. Then we have post Hermit Trance Crab, deals 1 to 200 damage to one enemy. Nothing special about those skills. Moving on, we have Sea Nettle, 50% chance of applying stun and freeze to all enemies. Now you have a 50% chance of either applying stun, then you have a 50% chance of applying freeze, so any of those effects may land or may not land. I wouldn't recommend running this skill because there are obviously better skills down below, so let's just go over them. Then we have Palancar Beauty, removes positive status effects from one enemy, gets one extra turn to itself. Now what I'm surprised is that this skill is in early stages, but since these skills are not in order, so I cannot say anything about it right now. But this can be very useful for going up against monsters with the Megaton ability, so you can basically remove all of the positive status effects and remove the Megaton and give yourself an extra turn as well, much like Thalassa's move. So I'm pretty excited about this move. This could be a potential move that you could run. Then we have Catfish Charge, deals moderate thunder damage to one enemy, then moderate thunder damage to all enemies. Now we have to remember one thing, that this monster is not an attacker, but he may have a high power stat as well, so we can run him basically as a denier or an attacker, so that's what I find it interesting as well. Then we have Depths of Tabata. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I did my best, so please don't come for me in the comments. Deals moderate water damage to all enemies, applies drown to all enemies. Now this may come in useful when he has his skill that we talked about earlier, that is the water hater skill, so this may come in very handy. Then we have Raja Ampat Diversity, deals heavy water damage to one enemy, applies thunder weakness and nano virus to one enemy. Nothing special about that, this is basically a heavy damaging move. Then we have Ray Charge, deals heavy thunder damage to one enemy, applies nano virus to one enemy. Nothing good about that skill as well. Now another thing that I'd like to talk about before I move on to the next set of skills is that when I was reading all of these skills, I thought this monster was an attacker, but he is a control monster, and we'll see why in a few seconds. So yeah, he is a very diverse of a monster, and I think can be used in a variety of situations, and that he's a Forsaken monster as well. Maybe he'll have this special power unlocked soon when he's coupled up with other Forsaken monsters like Wildbird, Wickah, who are the previous two Forsaken monsters. So moving on, we have Sea Wasp Box. Now I would not like to go over Sea Wasp Box right now because this skill is edited out and there is a final version at the very end, so we'll go over it later. Then we have Portuguese Man of War, applies Mega Freeze to one enemy, applies freeze to all enemies and drown to all enemies, requires cooldown. Now why am I thinking Thalassa when I'm looking over the skill? Because a lot of the skills are mirroring those of Thalassa's, so it'll be a second Thalassa or an improved version of Thalassa basically. So yeah, I really like Portuguese Man of War. And then we have Eel Charge, applies thunder weakness to all enemies, deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, applies shock to all enemies, a potentially good skill and could be run as well, so he's a very versatile monster like I just talked about. Then he has Cannonball, deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies stun, nanovirus and shock to all enemies. Now this is his deny skill basically, and we have a better version of the deny skill as well. Now we have Irokandiji, removes positive status effects from all enemies, applies stun and freeze to all enemies. Now this is his main, basically the deny skill that he could be using along with the Mega Freeze skill. So you have a lot of options to run according to the team you're facing, which I like about monsters. I like versatility. I like monsters in which you can basically switch out those skills and put in new skills depending upon the situation, because it adds an element of strategy to the game, which I feel that this game sorely lacks, because it is a very straightforward game and needs a little bit of strategy involved. So then we have Lion's Mane, disables straight, applies mega stun to one enemy. This could turn out to be a very useful move when going against monsters with the area dodge trait. As you all know, area dodge trait monsters such as Grimlad are dominating the game, and more monsters are having the area dodge trait, which is becoming really annoying. But then we have Great Barrier Savior, applies Sea Hater and Precision to all allies, gives one extra turn to itself. Now if you are planning to run this monster as an attacker, or if this monster has a very good attack stat, you could potentially run this move, and then basically you're getting an extra turn, and then you could do the water move, which that deals more damage, and you have a chance of basically wiping out the entire enemy team in one go. But one thing to remember is, if you are going up against monsters in the anticipation trait, which has also become very common and very bothersome, you can't do extra turn skills with them, as they will get a turn before you get your extra turn. So that is pretty annoying. And especially considering that this monster is in the water category. A lot of people have Hukawai. Hukawai is an anticipation monster and will easily counter if you're going up with this most. So this monster's main use, like Social Point has already told us, is basically to control, and I'm guessing he'll have a very high speed stat, maybe the highest we've ever seen. Only time will tell. Then we have the special, deals heavy water damage to all enemies, applies mega stun and mega freeze and nanovirus to all enemies. Very good special, I like it. Then, just like I said, we have an update to see Wasbox, deals moderate water damage to all enemies, applies nanovirus to one enemy, then to all enemies. So this nanovirus could also come in handy going up against monsters with the Megaton trait, and you can also wipe out the enemy team if you have water hater equipped onto yourself. This is the move I was talking about when going with the attacker mode of this monster. So like I said, this monster is very versatile and you can change the moves depending upon the situation. But if you are running him as a denier, I would definitely consider Portuguese Man of War, because that's basically Thalassa's move being copied, and I really like Portuguese Man of War. Then you could go with the stun and freeze and one disable trait and mega stun as well, because that's very useful. And then you could maybe apply a damaging move, or you could apply Sea Hater, etc. So yeah, that's it for my analysis on Crabbydroid. Am I excited? Yes. Am I happy that we have to spend gems on the wrist? No, not at all. I think that these races should be made a lot easier. So yeah, that's a controversy that's been going on since these pay to win games were released. I'm not getting into it, but that's my mini analysis on Crabbydroid, who's the new and upcoming monster. And I really hope you like my video, and comment down below or engage in arguments with me down in the comment section, because I know a lot of you have a lot of feelings about this, and I would love to, give my opinion, listen to yours, and maybe change mine or yours on a specific thing. So yeah, that's it for the video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.